homologous genes. These genes came from whole genome duplication that we know that they come from hybridization method. In my case, I work with L1 and L2. These proteins, they have 65% of identity. When we make like the prediction of the function, both predict that will be like aminotransaminase. Both of them, they conserve all the amino acids that are implied in the binding of the alanine and in the cofactor that is PLP, because these proteins are PLP dependent. But the only one that have activity, like alanine aminotransaminase, it's L1. In previous work in the laboratory, we find that these two enzymes diverge in many aspects. For example, in the function. L1 is the only one enzyme that can catabolize alanine. And L2, we don't find any implication in the metabolism of alanine. Then when we measure the intracellular concentration of alanine, of different strengths, when we measure this concentration of alanine to a single nucleon of L1, the intracellular concentration of alanine decreases to 20%. They decrease to 20%. In the expression, the pattern is really different. For example, in L1, when it's induced by alanine, and in the case of L2, when you have alanine, you have a regression. In the localization, we have some effect of divergence, because in the case of L1 is a mitochondrial protein, and in the case of L2, it's a cytosolic enzyme. Well, the aim of my project is to determine which structural difference made that L2 doesn't have the activity like an alanine transaminase. For this, we perform purification and we use a PET system to overexpress the protein, and then we made metal affinity chromatography to purify the enzymes. In the case of L1, we made like a normal protocol to purify this kind of protein that have like the his tag. And the first thing that we made was to make a kinetic characterization. And in this characterization, we know that this enzyme have like a ping-pong kinetic that is characteristic of transaminase. And then we make all the calculation to have all the kinetic parameters. In the case of L2, we use other protocol to overexpress the protein, because at the beginning all the protein goes to inclusion bodies. But then we find like one procedure to have soluble the protein. We use the protein in the early stage of growing of the culture for 1 week at 4 degrees. And then we have like the protein like in a soluble phase. The first thing that I made when I have like a protein was to measure the activity and compare with the activity of L1. And when I measure, I understand that L2 they don't have this activity. Then they open other questions. L2 don't have this activity. Why? Because they don't bind alanine. And for this question, I made some experiments of binding. In this experiment, you make a titration with alanine, and you make intrinsic fluorescence. The intrinsic fluorescence is a technique that in which you can look like a structural change. In this case, I use for control L1, that is the alanine transaminase. This blue line the spectrum of a protein that doesn't have alanine. And when you add alanine, they begin to increase like this new maximus. And you can make all the plots, and then you can make all the calculation to have like your affinities constant. But what happened with L2? We made the same experiment, but the difference is that when you add the alanine, they don't respond to the alanine. This means that L2 cannot bind alanine. Well, the next question is, L2 cannot bind alanine because they have different structure than L1. And for this, I performed like a structural analysis. The first study that we made was the study of the secondary structure. For this, we made circular dichroism at the far spectrum, because in this spectrum you can look like the secondary structure, and then we compare with the secondary structure of L1. In blue is L1 and in red is L2. And can you see, it's like the same. They have the same secondary structure. Well, maybe it's the tertiary structure. Okay, the tertiary structure is the way that all the secondary structure they take place. And for this, I made two different experiments. The first one is intrinsic fluorescence. In the intrinsic fluorescence, the thing that you do is to know if your protein is in a native state. Normally, all the native proteins, they have a maximum in 33, 38, 39. Okay, in this range. And well, then I made like my spectrum. And in the other plot, L1 is in blue and L2 is in red. They have like similar spectrum. Well, in the case of L2 is the maximum is in 37 and in L1 is 33. This says that they have like tryptophan more exposed, but maybe it's normal, you know, it's a different protein than L1. And then we have like a denaturalization, guanidine, that it's a molecule that makes denaturalization. If I am working with a native protein, when you add the guanidine, you look like a chip in the spectrum. And in the case of L1 and L2, we will look at these chips of pure. Then I made a near UV spectrum, circular dichroism. This spectrum they name fingerprint. Why is fingerprint? Because they only exist one spectrum for one protein. It's like a fingerprint. Okay, but you can use to compare proteins that are similar, like moralities. And in this spectrum, you can see that they have like the same shape. This means that they have like a similar structure. We made other kind of experiments to discard that this protein was like a molten globule. Why? Well, a molten globule it's like an intermediate of a native to unfolded protein. And we use this molecule that is ANS, that is a molecule that they bind they bind to unfolded patch that they form only when they are like molted in molten globules. And well, we compare this without the presence of guanidine and in presence of guanidine to know the behavior. Well, L1 is in the blue line and L2 is the red. The only thing that we look is that L1 is like lower fluorescence. that in L2. This means that L2 they have like more exposure these paths of hydrophobic paths, but the difference is not so big to say that it's a molten globule. At this moment we can say that L2 is a protein that is in a native form. Then we made the analysis to know the quaternary structure. For this we make like dynamic light scattering and exclusion size chromatography. In this analysis, both proteins are a dimer. At this point, we don't have any idea why L2 don't have the activity like an alanine aminotransaminase. For this reason, we make studies of stabilities. Okay? The first experiment that we made were like measure the stability at different temperatures, and with this we calculate all the Tm that are the temperatures where the half of the protein is unfolded. And we made like in presence of the cofactor and in the absence. And for both proteins, the PLP, that is the cofactor, stabilizes the protein. And in the case of L1, it's a little bit more stable than L2. We made a really similar experiment, but with 180, and they have like the same result. The PLP stabilize the proteins, both proteins, but L1 is a little bit more stable than L2. Then made renaturalization size, and both proteins they have like the same behavior. They renaturalize really quick and at 80%. Well, the difference in the stability, we have like some difference, but they are not so different to think that they change the function. But this protein, they have like one characteristic, that one is yellow and the other is transparent. What is the relationship of the color of the protein and the activity? Well, these proteins are PLP dependent, and they use a cofactor. And to be an active protein, they need to have a sheet base. Okay, this sheet base you can look in the UV spectrum and in the visible spectrum. And this sheet base is like in 300 to 450 nanometers. In both proteins, we have the sheet base, but if you look, they are different, because in the case of L1, we have 2 maximus. And in the case of L2, we have only 1 maximum. In the case of L1, we have like these 2 maximums, that is the proteinate sheet base and proteinate sheet base. They have the characteristic sheet base that have all the transaminase. But in the case of L2, we only have like 1 maximum. What means that? Okay, in other studies, they describe that the aspartate aminotransaminase that is really close to the alanine transaminase become inactive when they become yellow. And what is the reason that they become inactive when they become yellow? Well, it's because the PLP, that is the molecule that gives the activity to this kind of proteins, they have different functional groups. And one of the functional groups is the phenol group. And to have activity, you need to have the ionization form of this phenol group. And when you have protonated this this phenol group, you don't have activity, and you have the yellow form. Okay, at this moment we can say that it's really important for these proteins to have the correct ionization state of all these functional groups. But in other studies, they understand that not only is necessary this phenol group, because in other cases you have ionizated this phenol group, but they change the state of the pyrimidine nitrogen, and you don't have activity like transaminase. You have other kind of activities. In this study, they find that, for example, the serine, they compare three kinds of enzymes that are PLP dependent. A transaminase of aspartate that have like the PLP like in the same way that L1 and is transparent, and other two yellow proteins that have like really similar spectrum like L2, but these two proteins are not transaminase. They are like racemase, and they are serine synthetase. Well, when I studied more about this PLP enzyme, I understand that, well, they exist like 4 folding type, but this folding type, they don't give like the type of activity. These PLP enzymes are really diverse. They can make like 5 type of reagents, and you can have, for example, a transaminase in this fold type, and in this, and in this, and in this. The fold type, they don't give the type of activity that the enzyme will perform. The thing that gives the specificity is interactions that have the PLP with the amino acid that surrounds, because they give the ionization state of the functional groups of the PLP. And the other thing that gives the specificity is that the orientation of the PLP. For this reason, I have all the evidence that L2 is a protein that have a structure, and they have a functional structure, but we don't know the function. We think that maybe they made a neofunctionalization or subfunctionalization. Maybe the things that change are the interactions with the PLP, and I have the evidence that they change because they have different type of spectrum. Okay, the conclusion. L1 is an aminotransaminase that have a ping-pong kinetic. L2 don't bind alanine. They don't have a lot of difference in the structure. The main difference is the way how they interact with a functional group of the PLP, and maybe L2, it's a protein that make a neofunctionalization or a subfunctionalization. Okay, this work I don't make like alone. I have like a lot of help of all these professors. So thank you very much for your attention.
Nice work.
Thank you.
I was wondering, you mentioned that PLP has different isoforms.
Yeah.
Depending on the oxidation of the different.
Yes.
Which one of those ionization states are yellow?
Okay, it's when the pyrimidine.
There is only one that is yellow among all the different.
Yes, well, in the literature, I only find like two different states that give yellow proteins. One is when the pyrimidine nitrogen, it's like without proton. And the other is when you have like the phenol group with the hydrogen. These are like the two cases. I think that it's a functional protein because they conserve like in other species. It's not only in the group of Saccharomyces. For example, the protein I2, they conserve in Castelli, that is other species that Saccharomyces cerevisiae.
Okay. And in the other transaminases that you mentioned that bind PLP, the ionization states of PLP is that is yellow. To which activities is associated?
One is from racemase, and the other is cervin synthesized. But I mean, like a research I read a lot of articles and find the spectrums of these proteins, and I find like I think 9 proteins that have the same spectrum, but they have like different activities. The thing is that PLP-dependent enzymes are really, they have all kinds of activities. Are really like, they can be anything.
So the question here is what's the specificity?
Yes, yes. Well, in this moment I want to find, I will make like some binding experiment with a thermal shift, and I put different amino acids to know if it bind or not bind amino acids. Because all these enzymes that are PLP dependent are related with the amino acid metabolism. But at this moment, we can say that L2 is a protein that they have a structure and they have functional structure. We don't know what is the function, and I don't know if I find the function, but I know that they have all the things to have a function.
The last two questions. So you mentioned the intrinsic fluorescence was different between these two enzymes.
Yes.
And that intrinsic fluorescence was based on the exposure of tryptophans.
Yes.
The question that I don't know if you know, is there any difference in the number of tryptophans between these two?
No, they have the same, and they have like in the same position. The only thing is that I think that L2 is more open, but this is not the reason that they don't have activity. Maybe they can have like less activity, but not to don't have any activity or don't bind any PLP, any adenine.
Okay, and the other last question, the last question. When you did this experiment with anisotropy, the ANS, that chemical is supposed to bind to hydrophobic pathways.
Yes.
So the question again is, the proportion of hydrophobic residues between these two proteins is the same?
I need to, this experiment I did like 2 days ago. But yes, this is the other question. I think that in L2 it's higher. Because the behavior is that all the time is like 2 times more fluorescent.
For some time I haven't heard or read a term that was relatively, I don't want to say popular, not popular, but used. This was the term pseudogenes. And the idea was that there are gene duplications, and when there is one of the two genes which initially are exactly the same start getting mutations, and one of these mutations is a fatal mutation. So the product of that gene is not active any longer, but it doesn't matter to the organism or to the cell, because there is the other one which is not affected. But the silver gene, which codes for a product that is no longer active, starts accumulating through the eons more and more mutations. And there are some changes, but then if you look at them, in many ways they continue resembling each other. The one of them. Could this be an example? Could this be the product Alt2 of a cell gene?
Well, I don't think that it's a cell gene, because in the laboratory we made a lot of experiments of expression, and you know the first thing that they begin to fail when you have a cell gene is the expression profile. And in this case, Alt2, they have like really tight system of expression. And the other thing is that they conserve in a lot of yeast that they are not Saccharomyces. I think that this is my proof that it's not a cell gene. The only thing is that we don't know what is the function.
Otra pregunta por acá.
Actually, I think that you cannot rule out that this is a pseudogene. Because sometimes pseudogenes just have one or two mutations which inactivates the protein product. But I wonder if you say Alt1 and Alt2 have 65% identity. Identity, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, in the genomic database, is there some other genes which has a higher identity to either of one? So if you have a higher identity with a non-function protein which has a higher similarity to Alt2, maybe you can infer the function.
Yes. But for example, when you make like a blast, the first proteins that they appear are like alanine transaminase. Or in the second case are like aspartate transaminase, but they have like the same old type of alanine transaminase.
The question would be, what's the evidence that it has not become a pseudogene very present recently? Yeah. And perhaps the information that you have in other species could shed light on that? Because there's some information on these genes in other species.
Yes, of course. In Saccharomyces castelli, that is not part of the sensu stricto. They conserve. And Candida glabrata, but it's sensu stricto.
I like your argument that it has very specific expression pattern, and it's different from Alt1 too. Yes. And each of them has their own very specific expression pattern. And to me, that really suggests that it might be doing something.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And for example, in this case of PLP enzymes, it's not rare that neofunctionalization, the first enzymes that they appear are PLP dependent, and they begin to change in this process of neofunctionalization. The PLP dependent enzymes are like this kind of model enzymes of the primitive enzymes.
And it is definitely part of a really large, like I was just saying, very large superfamily where there's just a huge number of these proteins in the superfamily that do have a whole variety of different functions. So I think all these sorts of things really suggest to me that it probably does have another function.
Yeah.
That it's the pseudogene. I think it would have. I don't know. Yeah, I just think there's too many clues that it's doing something, and then it falls into this whole pattern of expression and evolution for this family of proteins.
And for example, there exist like other reports where, for example, they have like an aspartate transaminase and they convert to this carboxylase, you know, and they only change like only one amino acid. And the amino acid that they change are the amino acid, not that these amino acids that bind adenine, the amino acids that interact with the functional groups.
Okay, join me in welcoming and thanking Eréndira.